Alright, so I'm ready to start mixing the Solarez with the glow powder again, and I have the wood here that I've just finished sanded, or not finished sanded, but level sanded up to 400 grit. And one thing that I'm not sure of, which is why I have the smaller cup here, is I'm not sure if this fluorescent light I have here has any UV properties. So we're going to test that, excuse me, by just pouring a little bit in here and seeing if it starts to cure up at all. So let's find out. Pouring the tiniest, ittiest bit, right about there. And then we will shine that light on it and see if it cures. I don't think it will, but it's always good to know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's fine. It's still liquid. I think it's good. I mean, we can leave this in here a little bit longer and see, but it looks like it's still pretty liquid in here. So I'm going to say it is not going to cure even under this fluorescent light. But we'll leave that there for now. And maybe I'll point this light this way, actually. We'll come back to that in a little bit and see if it has started to cure at all. I really doubt it, but hey, you never know. In the meantime, we're going to take this cup and pour some of the Solarez. Again, this is the I Can't Believe It's Not Lacquer Green Filler. And, sorry, I'll try to point that up a little bit more. So this guy. And what we'll try to do is mix in some of the glow powder, and then using this popsicle stick, just kind of spread it so that it gets more or less into those little channels here. So we'll see how that goes. It might work out really well. It might be really terrible. We'll find out. Okay, so we have the Solarez in this cup, and we're going to now take some of the glow powder and put that in there with it. So let's open this up, and we're just going to put a tiny little amount, just like last time, and try to mix it up as best as we can. About that much. And it kind of clumps up at first because initially when the powder hits the liquid, it just kind of clumps together. But that's why we're going to take some time and actually stir it really well so that we can try to evenly disperse the glow powder or the mica powder as much as possible. So you can see it's kind of clumped up right now, but we're going to mix it up pretty well just to try to alleviate that. Try to get a nice consistency in the Solarez so that it looks like the mica powder looks pretty evenly dispersed. It's much better now. I don't know if you can see that, but so again, just mixing it up best we can with the limited technology that we were working with, such as popsicle sticks and solo cups. Trying to do this relatively low tech, so. Alright, so we have the Solarez pretty well mixed up. There might be a couple of air bubbles in here, but I can tolerate that for a bit. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to try to very carefully pour it into these cracks here. And we might even want to, let me think how I want to do this. I almost want to take like a, I'll be right back. Alright, this might look a little weird, but I'm going to take a Ziploc bag, and I'm actually going to pour the contents of this into the Ziploc bag. Actually, you know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll do something kind of sort of like this. Again, just trying to mix it up as we go. We'll pour a little bit onto the Ziploc bag. And then from here, I'll fold it almost like a taco and just try to sort of guide it into these grooves here. That's not terrible. Again, we have that popsicle stick for a reason, right? But you can actually just kind of finagle this that way. Try to get it to fill those channels more than the outside grain. It didn't quite work out as I had hoped, but we'll keep going that route. And hopefully it will all work out in the end. Let's do that. Thank you. Pour that in there, and that in there. Obviously, this is not the most scientifically advised method, but we'll see what we can get out of this. So I'm just going to kind of go over that, right? I probably should have used more glow powder, but that's okay. Maybe we'll just pour that in here. Yeah, and kind of guide it. Kind of just sort of nudge the resin down these channels. So we'll see how that works out. Again, probably could have gone a little bit heavier on the glow powder, but that's okay. For something like this, it's all good. It's a little sticky, but I don't think it's really curing yet. At least I don't think. Suppose we'll find out. You can see I'm just kind of pushing it across, trying to get it to fill those voids here and here. Get some in there. All right, that was pretty full. Ooh. You can kind of see I'm pushing it across the surface. So I'll grab this and get it out of the way. Sorry about that. Again, this is why we are doing this on a test piece of wood, not the actual guitar, because there are a lot of variables to consider with this kind of product. And we want to make sure we have some experience with it before we commit it to our guitar. So let's take a look. Now, what I thought might be the case, which looks like it is that this resin is very translucent, which is nice in a lot of ways. But even with the glow powder mixed in, you have to kind of glob it on pretty thick for it to not be totally see-through anymore. So we'll have to kind of work with it a bit to get it to the point we want it to be at, where it's really doing the cool glowy thing that we want it to do and filling in these gaps. So let's try that and see how it goes. Okay. So it looks like the gaps are pretty well filled. We're going to let it kind of sit for a little bit. Let the Solarez settle in. And then maybe go over it one more time with this, just to make sure it's really in those grooves, which it looks like it is, but I want to make sure it's like really sinking into those. And then while that's happening, I'm just gonna doubly check to make sure that there's no Solarez on this nice fold-out table. So I'm just kind of wiping it down. Maybe a little bit there. Try to get the edges as well. I suppose I could try to use like a dye or a food coloring, but I don't think that would be a good idea in this case because I have a feeling that would mess with the curing process pretty badly. So we're just going to try it as is. Alright. That looks like it's probably as good as it's going to get. Okay. Let's actually bring this outside and see how it goes. Alright, so I just took this outside to cure for a few minutes, and a couple things to note. One, this cures amazingly fast. I think it was only outside for like a minute or two, and it is completely dry. But one of the things, and I'll try to, let me see if I can grab a flashlight actually. There we go. One of the things is that this resin did come out very, very, I know that looks kind of weird on camera, but it's very translucent, and there's also some I don't know if you can see that, but there's bubbles here. I know I don't have the best camera, but hopefully you can see those bubbles. So I think in the future, well, there's a couple things we learned from this, right? First of all, shining the light on this, there's really no glow. I mean, there's a little bit. There's very little glow, so I probably should have added more glow powder. That's number one. Number two is, given how it has already kind of started to fill in on the grain too, I don't know if you can see this area here, but there's a spot here with some glow powder that got on it when I was spreading it across. I think an easy way to avoid that is to basically route the channels, right? Route the channels, then sand everything, okay, so that there's just a thin layer here blocking the grain of the wood so that the grain of the wood doesn't take the second coat. And during the second coat, we fill this with the Solarez. And I think that might be a good way to do that in the future. So that's first round of testing. This is, again, why we test on scrap, because we don't want to make these mistakes on the actual guitar. So yeah, I think we'll try that next. What's nice about this is that even with this one piece of wood, we have a whole other side we could work with. So we can do something very similar with this and try it out and see how it goes. So I would say this didn't work out the way we wanted it to. That's the whole point of this process. We are experimenting. We're trying something new. So let's try something new again.